This is 203 grams of filament that went straight into the recycle bin from one tiny four-color print. That's 5 times more plastic wasted than printed. We're talking about enough filament to make 17 whole bedsheets. So when Anycubic told me that their new Kobra X could print multicolor twice as fast while making half the waste, I didn't believe him. So I tested it. The Kobra X is Anycubic's latest design, a four-color budget bed slinger with a 260 by 260 bed, linear rods, and a nozzle you can swap out without the need for tools. Test results were honestly kind of shocking. This small three-color print finished almost 30 minutes quicker on the Kobra X than it did on my Bamboo A1, using the same slicer settings and each printer's default settings. The weird thing is, it doesn't actually print faster, it swaps colors faster. If you've ever used a single color multi nozzle printer, you already know the dirty little secret. Every color change costs you time and it costs you filament. Inside every single nozzle printer, there's a hot end with two zones: cool zone up top, hot melty zone down below. Once filament melts down there, you can't pull it back out. You can only push it through. When you switch colors, the printer has to push all of that old melted plastic out until the new color runs clean. That's the purge. Some of this goes into the prime tower, but the rest, well, that's printer poop. And the longer the path between your filament cutter and the nozzle, the more plastic you have to purge. A long path equals more waste and slower color swaps. So the question is, can you shorten that path? This is where the Kobra X gets interesting. It uses Anycubic's Ace Gen 2 system, and instead of putting it in a big external box, like most AMS systems, it's built directly into the toolhead. This gives you a much smaller footprint. The filament cutter sits just 10 millimeters from the nozzle. That's extremely close. And instead of retracting filament halfway across the printer, Kobra X only retracts about 30 millimeters during swaps. That shorter path means we get faster color swaps. I ran the same four-color print with the same settings on two machines, the Kobra X and the Bamboo Lab A1. This model has 776 color swaps. The Kobra X finished it in 13 hours and 8 minutes. The A1 took 21 hours and 57 minutes. That's almost 9 hours different. And the only major variable is how long it takes to swap those colors. The Kobra X averages about 30 to 35 seconds for color change. My A1, closer to 90 seconds. Now that doesn't sound dramatic until you multiply it by 700 color swaps. All those seconds stack up the bigger and more complex your prints are. Now, let's talk waste. The Kobra X had 145 grams of purge and 42 grams of prime tower. The A1, 203 grams of purge and 34 grams of prime tower. That's 50 grams less waste on the Kobra X. And here's the crazy part. The actual model only weighs about 32 grams. Now, there are ways to tune the waste, which I've covered in a previous video, and you can go watch it later. The Kobra X has another advantage directly related to this shortened filament path. It can handle TPU remarkably well. I tested Kobra X with a standard 95A and also an 85A TPU through the Ace Gen 2. The only thing it needs is a little push to get it loaded. A lot of new printers have a real problem with soft TPU. It's like trying to push around a wet noodle. The A1 can't even use its AMS with TPU, which is why Bamboo came out with this stiffer TPU for AMS. And now I've also found the same kind of filament over at Micro Center. It's Inland's TPU for MFS. So check that out if you do have one of those kind of printers. But because the Kobra retraction distance is so short and because of the way the CAM system does its job, the Kobra X can use any TPU you want and more than one at a time. Here's a wallet I printed in Cookie Cat TPU. It looks great, but even better, This two-color book box is made from cookie CAD and inland TPU. You can also mix TPU with PETG or PLA to add a little flex to a gasket or a hinge. The Kobra X has got you covered. Just remember to turn on beam interlocking in the slicer to weave those two materials together. Otherwise, they're not going to stick. This trick is normally reserved for more expensive tool changers. So, is it a clone? Well, at first glance, yeah, it does look a bit like an A1, but so do a lot of other bed slingers these days. Anycubic is just following the fashion. But under the hood, the system is very different. For one thing, the H Gen 2 is built in. It's not a separate purchase. So when I say this printer costs $299, it's the whole package. Bamboo's external AMS adds $100 to the cost of the combo. And you're not locked into just 4 colors. The Kobra X can be hooked up to 4 Ace Pro boxes for printing on up to 19 colors. And also, Cobra's camera isn't just for remote viewing. It's part of the AI spaghetti detection system, which will also check the bed before printing to make sure it's all clear. Now, the only thing on the Kobra X that I'm not loving is this filament guide here, which makes loading filament a little bit awkward. And it would be nice if there was an easier way to read the RFID tags on the spools. RFID tags are how the printer can figure out what kind of filament you're using without needing to type a lot of info directly into the printer. Now, Bamboo does have a more developed ecosystem and a few more spare parts in their store and a few more models in their file library. But the great thing about any 3D printer is you're not locked in to anyone's ecosystem. You're only limited by your imagination. There are millions of model files out there on dozens of websites that you can access and run through your computer's slicer. And if you like the convenience of a mobile app, well, Anycubic's got you covered there too. If you want to talk materials, Anycubic has loads of them. They have every color of the rainbow and PLA, PETG, TPU, and more. There's fun sparkles and metallics, dual and tricolors, marble and matte. And best of all, Anycubic filament is very affordable. So yes, it's still a bed slinger in a world where Core XY machines are becoming more common. But it's more affordable than any multicolor Core XY machine on the market right now. And the quality on this baby is great. So if you're looking for a first printer or a first multicolor printer, this is easy to use and it's easy on your wallet. And if you're tight on desk space, the footprint on the Kobra X is a lot smaller than any other machine with a box or an AMS light. If you don't want to waste your filament budget, the only thing better is going to be a tool changer, and those are about 3 times the price. If you want to check out the Kobra X, there's a link down below. So thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll see you next time. Happy printing.